Hello everyone, I hope everybody is sound and safe. Today we're going to talk about conditionals. In this presentation we're going to learn about conditional sentences types 0, 1, 2 and 3. Conditional sentences. Actually, there are four main types of if sentences in English, often called conditional sentences. These sentences are in two halves, or two clauses. The if part, or what we call the if clause, and this states the condition part of the conditional sentence. And the other part where you can use words such as can, will, may, might, could, and would. This is also called the main clause, and it states the corresponding result of the if clause. To begin with, we're going to start with conditional type 0 or zero conditional. It is a structure used for talking about general truths, things which always happen under certain conditions. And we have to note that most zero conditional sentences will mean the same thing if when is used instead of if. The zero conditional is used to talk about things which are always true, like scientific truths, scientific facts, general truths, and so on. Now, if you consider the example, if you boil water, it evaporates. Actually, the first part, or the first half of this sentence, is the if clause. It has the condition, which is, if you boil water. The corresponding result is in the main clause, it says it evaporates. Now, what happens to water when you boil it? It evaporates. This is a scientific fact. As you can see, in the if clause, we have used if with the present simple of the verb, and in the main clause, we have used the present simple of the verb too. I wanted to consider the example at the bottom. Water evaporates if you boil it. What has actually changed? Compared to the sentence above, this sentence started with the main clause and ended with the if clause. And you can see that there is no comma. If you start a conditional sentence with the if clause, you must separate it from the main clause with a comma. If you want to start the conditional sentence with the main clause, there is no need to use a comma to separate between the two clauses. The second type, the second type for today is conditional type 1 or first conditional. This is a bit different from factual conditional because it is used for talking about possibilities in the present or in the future. The first conditional is used to talk about things which are possible in the present or the future, things which may happen. An example, if you study hard, comma, you will pass. As you can see, in the if clause, the verb used in the simple present tense is in the simple present tense. While here, the verb used is in the form will plus the base form or stem. Will, may, can, or stem. What difference do we have between this type and type 0? Why did we use the present tense here, but not in the main clause? Because this is not a general truth. You could possibly study and yet not pass. That is why we're talking about possibilities, we're not talking about facts or scientific truths. So again, the example says, if you study, the simple present tense is used here, the answer or the corresponding result is in the main clause, you will pass. Considering the tenses used, you can see the simple present tense used in the if clause, will plus stem or may, can plus stem in the main clause. If you look at the sentence at the bottom, starting this conditional sentence with the main clause, I do not need any comma to separate the two clauses. At this point, we're moving to conditional type 2 or second conditional. This is a new level of conditionals where we're talking about unreal situations, things that are unreal in the present or in the future. The second conditional is used to talk about things which are unreal, not true, or not possible in the present or future. Things which do not or will not happen. An example says, if I had $1 million, I would buy a big house. As you can see, in the if clause, the past simple of the verb have is used, had, and in the main clause, the verb buy is used in the form would plus the stem. Again, we know that it talks about unreal situations in the present or in the future. This means that if I had $1 million, this means I do not have $1 million. I will buy a big house. I will not buy a big house. The change is I would buy a big house if I had $1 million. The same thing, and this is very important. If you decide to start with your main clause, there is no need to separate the two clauses with a comma. Before we move into conditional type 3, it is important to emphasize again that with conditional type 2, we're talking about unreal situations in the present, things which do not or will not happen. If I had $1 million, the past tense here shows that this is an unreal condition. Would plus the stem here shows that this is an imaginary result. So the meaning is, in the present, I do not have $1 million. In the future, I'm not going to buy a house because I do not have this amount of money. Moving to conditional type 3, it's also about unreal situations, but these unreal situations are in the past. The third conditional is used to talk about things which did not happen in the past. It is often used to express criticism or regret. An example here, I would have passed the test if I had studied harder. If you noticed, in this example, the main clause has started the sentence. That's why we do not have a comma. Compared to the sentence in the bottom, the same sentence starting with the if clause had to use a comma to separate it from the main clause. Again, I would have passed the test if I had studied harder. This means this is an unreal situation in the past and its unreal result. The meaning is, I did not study hard enough and I did not pass. Considering the tenses used, in the main clause, we could use would, could, might, plus have, plus past participle of the main verb. In the if clause, it's always the past perfect tense to show it is unreal in the past. Now, this leads us to something called conditional inversion that happens with types 2 and 3. You already know about inversion before, and we've had some work on different forms of inversion. In formal English, conditional sentences can be formed by inversion of subject and auxiliary verb. In such sentences, if is removed. How's that? In a normal conditional sentence, you could read, if I were taller, I would be happier. In a conditional sentence with an inversion, you could read, were I taller, I would be happier. This is the same sentence with a normal conditional format and a conditional inversion format. Conditional sentences with inversion are more formal than those that follow the usual word order. We can use inversion in unreal present as well as unreal past. To get into more examples of this, the unreal present or conditional type 2, were I you, I would visit my grandfather. This sentence has originally been, if I were you, I would visit my grandfather. For emphasis and inversion, we remove if and we invert the subject. Then the verb, the sentence becomes, were I you, I would visit my grandfather. Unreal past conditional type 3, had Jake been informed about the meeting, he would have participated. The original sentence was, if Jake had been informed about the meeting, he would have participated. The last point that we're going to have for today is using the first conditionals with in case and unless. To begin with, in case has the same meaning as if, and it's used in first conditionals. You can see, like, in case can be used instead of if in the first conditionals. Example, you will win the contest if you prepare well. You could easily replace if with in case by saying, you will win the contest in case you prepare well. The same could happen, or a similar thing could happen with unless, but with certain changes, because unless means if, not, or except if. Unless is used to express negative conditionals. An example here says, if she doesn't listen carefully, she will not understand the rules. As you can see, unless, in this sentence, unless has replaced if and not. So the sentence becomes, unless she listens carefully, she will not understand the rules. Of course, does here is a helping verb to show us that this verb is in the present tense. I've kept it in the present tense here with a harmony in number. She listens. So the sentence becomes, unless she listens carefully, she will not understand the rules. This is all for today. Of course, you're going to find your handouts and your exercises on Qimam eSchool. You're going to have this video uploaded at eSchool too. Thank you very much. Stay safe.